Every time you walk by her door, the smell remains in the corridor. It is peculiar, unique, and identifiable. The odd odor that clings to her apartment, her clothes, and her entire presence is something that you have been noticing for a number of months now. Her actions that take place behind closed doors are her own business. Nevertheless, in this close-knit society, secrets have a tendency of coming to light. During random encounters, her eyes appear to meet yours, and there is something in her stare that conveys a sense of familiarity and a challenge. When you smelled that telltale perfume, she is aware that you were able to identify her behaviors. Unspoken but tremendous tension exists between the two of you at this moment. What she does not understand is that the power that you possess is a direct result of your position within the society. Not only does the council pay attention to what you have to say, but the neighbors have faith in your judgment, and you have already started the quiet conversations that are necessary to assemble the necessary support for what must finally take place. At this point in time, she observes you with a tired expression. It is possible that she has a premonition of what is going to happen. The possibility exists that she is aware that her time in this location is drawing to a close and that she will soon be forced to deal with the repercussions of bringing her practices into a location that will not tolerate them. She is currently lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and she is pondering whether or not tonight is the night that you will call fire down from heaven upon her doorway for her. She is curious as to whether or not today is the night when your prayers would bring to light every concealed aspect of her spiritual offenses in a manner that is severe and uncompromising. You have come in her domain, carrying with you the unmistakable air of genuine spiritual authority, and as a result, she is unable to fall asleep, and calm has left her house. Observe her meticulous choreography, including the manner in which she schedules her departures to avoid yours, the manner in which she pretends to be suddenly interested in her phone when you emerge in communal locations, and the manner in which she finds reasons to be elsewhere when community meetings take place. These are not the activities of someone who is acting with a clean conscience. Rather, they are the desperate moves of someone who is aware that they are being exposed in front of eyes that understand more than just their outward look. Her terror is above the typical uneasiness that people experience. A true bearer of spiritual light, whose mere presence acts like acid to her carefully created illusions, which she has only heard whispered about in her deepest circles. She recognizes something in you that she has only heard whispered about in darkest circles. Your casual welcome bears the weight of a heavenly decree to her guilty conscience, and the sound of your footfall on the shared sidewalk seems like the day of judgment to her ears. Your name is currently being whispered in conversations that are taking place in places with low lighting all throughout the city. Have you obtained any information regarding the person who relocated to Maple Street? They assert they are not susceptible to any spell work. There were 3 distinct practitioners who attempted to connect their energy, and all 3 of them experienced disasters within a short period of time. Your reputation precedes you in circles that you have never personally approached. In your region, the underground network of practitioners is buzzing with the nervous energy of nervousness. Warnings are issued, and text messages are sent back and forth. Emergency meetings are convened, and warnings are sent out. Stay away from the person who can smell how we smell. During these gatherings, your neighbor is present, nursing a glass of wine, and she is giving her own frightened story about how you saw right through her mask and into her spiritual essence, and you discovered that it was lacking. The weight of your potential that has not yet been realized is more terrifying to them than any action that you have performed up to this point. They are able to perceive the dormant force that is coiled up within of you, waiting for the moment when divine activation occurs. You didn't stumble here by accident, you were led. If something in your spirit is stirring, don't ignore it. Tap Join to access exclusive content, prophetic insights, and a community of purpose-driven souls. This isn't just a membership. It's your moment of alignment. Step into who you were born to be. Welcome to the Chosen. None of these things, an announcement, a proclamation, or a ceremony, are necessary for your spiritual authority. It is given out by you, with every breath that you take and every step that you take on the land. You are recognized by the ground beneath your feet. The air around you vibrates differently when you are here, and the very fabric of creation reacts to the divine appointment that is reflected in your spiritual DNA. Being in close proximity to you causes the practitioner next door to experience a decrease in her own power. Her instruments aren't functioning quite as they should. Her rituals aren't working as well, and her connections to particular energies are weakening and fading away like faulty radio signals. Your sheer presence in the area has altered the spiritual climate, elevating the vibratory frequency to a level that is beyond what her weakened practices are able to endure. The day when you will direct your complete attention onto her, point your spiritual finger in her direction, and speak words of heavenly judgment is something that she is terrified of you doing. When that day arrives, she is aware that her power in this location will come to an end. Despite the fact that your spiritual authority does not have a government badge, an institutional accreditation, or an organizational endorsement, it is nevertheless more powerful than all of these things combined. There is a greater source from which it originates. It is an everlasting appointment that existed before your birth and will continue to exist beyond your physical form. Not only does this authority cause principalities to shake, but it also causes practitioners to lose their sleep. However, the majority of people in the community are unable to identify it. Simply put, they are aware that something has changed since you have arrived. There is a sense of cleanliness in the air. Certain influences that were formerly influential appear to be beginning to lose their power. Certain persons who were once in charge of making decisions for the society are finding themselves becoming increasingly isolated. There has been a purification that has started, and it is spreading outward from your place of residence like ripples from a stone that has been placed into still water. It is not through confrontation that you find your strength. Rather, it is through being, not through accusation, but through presence, not through assault, but through alignment with your divine purpose. Neither pounding on her door nor calling her out by name is required of you. The mere fact that you maintain a consistent spiritual practice is sufficient to create an atmosphere that is progressively unfriendly to her manipulative behavior. When you meditate in the morning, you strengthen the boundary around your home. When you pray, you strengthen the spiritual barrier that prevents negativity from crossing your threshold. When you study sacred texts, you add another layer of divine protection to your aura. And when you worship in an authentic manner, you generate a light that exposes hidden darkness throughout the community. You are not need to zero in on her explicitly. In order to determine what should be consumed and what should be preserved, the divine fire that you tend does not require any direction from you. Any negative energy that is aimed toward you is reflected back to the senders by the protection that is surrounding you, which acts automatically. Without your conscious activation, this spiritual element of divine reflection is able to function. The people who have put this theory to the test have acquired a number of bitter lessons. Your neighbor has been exposed to these cautionary stories and has made the astute decision to not include her name on the list of those who have been spiritually humbled. You have transformed your house into a sanctuary in the most literal sense. It is a sacred place where the truth is king and where lies have no place to be found. With each passing day, the boundary between your residence and hers becomes more obvious. Yours is the one that divides the two. Even people who are not very sensitive to spiritual matters are able to perceive the difference when they go from her area into yours. At this point in her spiritual journey, she is at a crossroads. She can either undergo a genuine transformation or relocate to a different region. A third choice is not available. The existence of your presence has rendered it difficult to proceed as before. Keep an eye out for the indications that she is going through a struggle on the inside, such as the sudden appearance of more religious symbolism in her home, the spiritual literature that are now visible on her coffee table, and the tentative attempts to become more involved in the community in a positive way. Through these external alterations, an internal wrestling struggle is revealed, revealing a soul that is in transition and a practitioner who is contemplating the validity of the path she has chosen. Blessed by His grace, click Super Thank You and give $50 to spread His light. Your gift plants seeds that grow His kingdom. Be the blessing. Her network provides very little solace at this time. They inquire with tones that are tinged with both wonder and sympathy by saying, "You live next to that one." Invitations are occurring less regularly, and she is gradually being excluded from collaborative workings. They are concerned about the possibility of cross-contamination, which means that they can be affected by your impact on her through her. There is a correlation between her geographical proximity to you and her growing spiritual isolation. There are moments when she contemplates relocating, and she fantasizes about starting again in a town where there is no divinely destined individual residing there, where her practices can continue without being challenged, and where her spiritual fragrance is not noticed. But there is something that keeps her here. It may be a budding germ of true curiosity about the source of your power. It could be a growing dissatisfaction with concealment. It could be the first weak tendrils of genuine spiritual hunger. It is not lost on her that she is aware of the irony. In her efforts to conceal her spiritual aroma from you, she has started the process of truly purifying it. Her anxiety over the possibility of receiving a reprimand from you has motivated her to make changes that she would not have considered otherwise. Through the process of inward reflection that ultimately results in voluntary transformation, your spiritual authority is able to accomplish something that frontal confrontation could never do. Make no mistake about it. The placement of souls in close proximity to one another serves a divine purpose that goes beyond the dynamics of the particular neighborhood. For the sake of achieving particular spiritual goals, the universe placed particular individuals in particular locations at particular periods. What you are experiencing in life is not a random occurrence. Your souls have met one another in the past, possibly over the course of centuries or even across dimensions. There was an immediate tension, an instant knowing, and a reflexive repulsion that expressed itself upon the first contact. This spiritual recognition explains all of these things. During nocturnal gatherings, spiritual sentinels whispered of your arrival, and genuine seers had a glimpse of your approach in their most vivid visions. They made the proclamation that there will be a person who will alter the spiritual climate. The date of your arrival was marked on calendars that were not visible to anyone. The practitioner was able to recognize you immediately due to the fact that your picture had already manifested in her dreams, your face had previously manifested during her trance states, and your energy signature had already registered in her spiritual awareness when you physically came before her. This divine assignment acts as a catalyst for the spiritual realignment of each and every member of the community. The repercussions of the ripples will be felt well beyond the scope of your immediate engagement with the practitioner in the neighboring practice. The altering spiritual climate will be experienced by every soul within a certain radius. Every sincere seeker will discover that their path is lit, and every deceptive will discover that their disguises are less effective and less convincing. Your ability to detect spiritual corruption is not a skill that you have just recently acquired. Rather, it is a manifestation of an old spiritual lineage that has been triggered within your being. Throughout the course of human history, there have been particular individuals who have been entrusted with the divine appointment of discernment, which is the spiritual ability of picking up on what other people are hiding. They went through ancient marketplaces, detecting charlatans, selling spiritual counterfeits. They sat in royal courts, whispering truth to power, while others spoke flattery. And they stood in temple courtyards, differentiating between genuine worship and meaningless ceremony. Your spiritual ancestors were able to do all of these things. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull, tap, join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. This historic authority is perceived by the practitioner who is located next door. As they discussed the seeming age of your soul, the wine glasses that she was drinking from were empty throughout her talk with her fellow practitioner. Her acquaintance murmured, "This one has been through many cycles," during their conversation. They perceive what you may not completely know yet, which is the depth and antiquity of the spiritual commission that you carry. The eyes reveal a soul that has seen centuries come and go, was the saying that was used to describe the eyes. The investigation that they conducted into your spiritual genealogy uncovered around 10 previous lives of significance. Each of these incarnations was marked by the same divine appointment. Each of them was defined by the same spiritual discernment, and each of them resulted in the spiritual recalibration of the entire community. The pattern is being repeated via you at this very moment. A spiritual confrontation is brewing on the horizon, despite the fact that the location and circumstances are different from those of earlier incarnations. This showdown will not be caused by your actions, but rather by the unavoidable collision of genuine and fake spiritual forces that are occupying the same area. Although oil and water cannot cohabit in the same container endlessly without being separated, it is also impossible for spiritual frequencies that are in opposition to one another to share territory continuously without being resolved. It is not human impatience that will define the date of this battle. Rather, it is divine calendars that will determine the timing. In accordance with the perfect cosmic timing, it will take place at a time when the greatest possible spiritual benefit can be attained for all of the souls involved. Waiting patiently, maintaining a spiritual alignment, and being prepared for the divine moment when it occurs are all necessary components of your position. This showdown may take a form that surprises both of you. Perhaps it is not a dramatic public confrontation, but rather a quiet conversation over an unexpectedly shared cup of coffee. Perhaps it is not fiery accusations, but tearful confessions offered without prompting. Perhaps it is not your rebuke of her, but rather her request for your guidance. Very rarely do divine resolutions correspond to human assumptions regarding the manner in which spiritual issues should be resolved. Similarly, the practitioner is aware of this time that is drawing near. Her latest spiritual changes, which include extra cleansing rituals and gradual separation from some spiritual associates, are indicative of preparation, whether conscious or unconscious, for your impending spiritual intersection. Significant spiritual discernment is accompanied with a significant amount of spiritual responsibility. Maintaining your own spiritual alignment is your major responsibility. This includes keeping your hands clean, your heart pure, your conscience clear, engaging in genuine practices, and maintaining regular communication with divine sources. In order for your discernment to work correctly, it is imperative that you maintain a high level of spiritual hygiene. Your neighbor practitioner is paying more attention to your consistency than you are aware of, and they are evaluating the degree to which your words and behaviors are consistent with one another. It is important to keep in mind that your mission entails liberation, not condemnation, bringing about transformation, not eradicating souls, blessing through realignment with truth, rather than cursing. Individuals who engage in spiritual deceit are nevertheless considered to be cherished souls who are capable of spiritual development. However, the practitioner is more afraid of your judgment than she ought to be, due to the fact that she has a misunderstanding of the nature of genuine spiritual authority. She expects being judged unfairly when your actual mission involves establishing conditions that are conducive to genuine transformation. When your genuine function is that of a divine catalyst for positive change, her spiritual associates have cast you as a destroyer. However, your true function is that of change agent. If this divine appointment is successful in accomplishing its goal, then the transformation that results from your interaction with the practitioner will spread outward. The effects will have an impact on lives that you have never witnessed, will have an impact on circumstances that you will never directly experience, and will realign the spiritual dynamics that are present throughout the community. The same network that disseminated warnings against challenging you will also disseminate news of the eventual resolution that was reached between you and your neighbor. Other practitioners will be informed of what transpires. Others will be prompted to reevaluate their own spiritual journeys and to rethink practices that they have embraced for a long time as a result of this reporting. In spite of the fact that they are not consciously aware of the spiritual dynamics at play, members of the community will nonetheless experience the shift in environment, which includes feelings of hope that cannot be explained, unexpected moments of clarity, surprising inspirations toward positive changes, and fresh energy for the advancement of the community. In the same way that the metaphysical affects the material, the spiritual has an effect on the physical. Certain community issues that appeared to be indefinitely stuck will suddenly find means to resolve them. Relationships that have been broken for generations may discover surprising healing. Resources that were previously withheld will suddenly become available. The fulfillment of this divine appointment will result in the expansion of your own spiritual gifts, including new levels of discernment, heightened spiritual sensitivity, and an enlarged capacity for seeing opportunities presented by the divine. It is always the case that promotion to higher spiritual responsibility comes after faithful stewardship of present spiritual duties. The way in which you handle this assignment will decide the assignments that you will receive in the future. The seemingly little neighborhood dynamic, which consists of your ability to recognize the spiritual character of your practitioner neighbor, holds an eternal significance that goes beyond what the human eye can perceive. Confrontations of a spiritual kind in the corporeal world are a reflection of bigger cosmic struggles that take place in unseen realms. It was determined before either of you assumed physical form how close you were to this particular soul in terms of your geographic closeness. An individual who makes problematic spiritual choices is not the only thing that the practitioner symbolizes. Rather, they are an access point for particular energies that are looking to exert influence on the community. Your presence is not only that of a neighbor who is spiritually aware, but also of a divinely positioned authority who is restraining the spread of these forces. Please acknowledge the honor that has been bestowed upon you for this specifically assigned task. You, out of all the souls that are accessible, were placed in this particular area at this particular time in order to directly handle this particular spiritual circumstance. This divine appointment did not come about as a result of random chance. Rather, it was the result of a thorough cosmic calculation that took into account your individual spiritual gifts, your distinctive soul history, and your personalized divine commission. The ramifications of the eventual settlement that takes place between you and the practitioner will extend beyond your present lifetime. Soul contracts will be completed, karmic patterns will be rectified, and divine goals will be accomplished. From one dimension to another, from one chronology to another, and from one soul history to another, across all of your everlasting essences, the benefits are extensive. When it comes to the cosmic ledger of spiritual affairs, what appears to be ephemeral actually has repercussions that are permanent. The fact that you are currently residing in that particular house, on that particular street, within that particular community is not a result of random chance, but rather from divine positioning. Cosmic powers linked career opportunities, housing availability, the timing of openings, and financial concerns to position you exactly where divine purpose demanded your presence. This occurred before you signed your lease or mortgage, or even before you viewed that property. It is a confirmation of the divine intentionality that lies behind your geographical proximity that the practitioner is afraid. She is able to accurately discern the spiritual significance of your installation near her dwelling, despite the fact that her spiritual sensitivity is being diverted by behaviors that are disturbing. She is aware of the fact that random chance cannot account for the precise arrangement of your souls in close proximity to one another, and she may even be more aware of this than you are thus far. Maintain your self-assurance in the awareness that your position conveys divine sanction, that your presence indicates cosmic intention, and that your placement satisfies the expectations of the prophets with confidence. The spiritual authority that you possess does not require any defense, explanation, or justification beyond the divine appointment that is immediately apparent in your mere presence, the one place where you are required the most.